This is Dental All-Stars, where we bring you the best in dentistry on marketing, management, and training. Here's your host, Alex Nottingham.
Welcome to Dental All-Stars. I'm Alex Nottingham, founder and CEO of All-Star Dental Academy. And with me is Eric Vickery, the president of coaching of All-Star Dental Academy. And this interview is part of a collection of interviews focusing on business and personal growth. And when it comes to practice growth, we have an entire event dedicated to personal and business growth for you and your team, and that's the All-Star Practice Growth Summit this upcoming May 17th and 18th in sunny South Florida. And you can learn more about the event at allstardentalavents.com. Please welcome Eric Vickery.
Thank you, Alex. Has anybody ever told you you have just a wonderful voice for podcasts and radios?
Well, better than saying you have a radio radio face?
You have a great face for radio.
You have a great face for radio. I haven't heard that yet, thankfully, but no, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. You were joking. We're on the mastermind the other night. You're like, nobody likes the sound of their voice. Oh, except for Alex, maybe. So that was a good little.
Yeah,
I'll take the joke.
I think
it's cute.
I think a lot of people like your voice. I think it sounds good on a podcast. There is some truth to not liking to watch yourself back or listen to yourself back on video or recording, but it is such an important part of your growth.
Well, you did a whole program on speaker training, and I would say that much to what you're talking about, even when I listen to recordings, there are things I don't like. The fillers, the ums, the words you talk about, filler words. And I think the more you listen to it, the more you appreciate it, you can learn from it. And you know I think it's a societal that we're just like, how dare you like your voice? How dare you like your performance? Like you'll give a presentation and you're usually in state and flow and you're like, that was a good presentation. I'm proud of myself. And it's like, somebody, oh, he's arrogant. No, it's like, good job. Like that was a good job or a good workout. So it's important that we praise ourselves. That's without ego. It's like, good job. Because sometimes it's hard to differentiate between arrogance and I wouldn't say not even confidence, but self-appreciation, self-love, right? Arrogance is you're overcoming some weakness that you really don't like yourself. So really liking yourself is that's a whole nother, we can do actually, that's going to be something that we talk about with Abby, your wife in Life Mastery, because, so anyways, these little things we talk about on a whole different topic.
Well, but the fact of that is you're only as good as you can communicate. And what I mean by that is as your patient perceives you clinically, it's going to be created, that perception is created through your communication skills. So if you have phenomenal clinical skills, but your communication skills are, medium, or lackluster, that's going to create your ceiling where their belief in you is at that level. So you have to learn how to communicate in an excellent way. So be confident enough to critique yourself. There's confidence in that.
Absolutely. I just had the pleasure of listening to your podcast on our podcast about living a significant life. It was a really nice talk about your purpose, about your interactions with everybody. I love how you said like every individual I speak to is significant, is important.
Yeah.
So for those who do not know, every Monday, our president of coaching releases a new podcast on Dental All-Stars. A quick tip for the week. That was a great one. I really appreciated that. And let's kind of dive into practice growth because we have a whole series. This is the first of many that we're going to be interviewing that the subject of practice growth, but also kind of giving a insight into the event, the Practice Growth Summit. So we'll talk about the summit a little bit, but this podcast we'll learn some insight. So give me an idea, Eric, what is practice growth? How do you define practice growth?
So let's separate that. When you say what is practice growth, are you talking about Practice Growth Summit or are you talking about
No, we're not even going to the summit yet.
Growth?
We're not going to the summit yet. We're going to the philosophy behind the summit, right?
Yes.
So business and personal growth. So what is it? How do you define it? And why is it important?
Okay. So we've probably all heard the saying, if you're not growing, you're declining. This is a mantra of the coaches. Constant growth is essential. You said multiple times, mastery comes through repetition. You want to master your craft. I'll just be frank, for team members listening, doctors can plug their ears, but who doesn't want to raise every year? You want to grow your income to take care of your family. So that growth, this is one example, where does that growth come from? Well, imagine, what is it, the Pantheon, right? It's got the pillars with the roof on it, right? Imagine this white pillars, this roof, and it's open and you can see through, okay? The pillars are going to be the team. The practice is that roof. And as the pillars grow, the roof increases. And sometimes it's wobbly because some people are growing and others are not. Sometimes it's stagnant and it doesn't move. But yet the pillars are still saying, I want to raise every year, right? I want opportunity for growth. That's when you look at Gallup's study, the number one thing people are looking for right now from their employer is opportunities for growth. That's the number one thing. And so we have to make sure that we create an environment where growth is possible. You say it all the time. Your uncle says it, right? What's the saying about if you train them? What is it?
Oh, you're talking about Uncle Jay. Not
Yeah.
my magic uncle, but another uncle. So Uncle Jay talks about, he's a medical consultant. Mm-hmm. And he says that, well, what if I train people and they leave? Mm-hmm. And the response to that is, well, what if I don't train them and they stay?
Yes. Yeah. So looking for growth, that comes through training, that comes through creating opportunities. And every year, your team is going to want to increase their income. That's a normal cost of living, normal process. They want more. And so I'll speak to the team on this. Doctors can unplug their ears now. If you want a raise, you're raising your hand saying, I want a raise. Well, there's more to do. There's growth to happen then. You're never finished. You never can say, oh, I've arrived. Because as soon as you do that, you're now on the decline. And the only people who are going down on decline are coasting. So as the pillars are rising, the practice is growing. So we know that if we train the team, whether it be communication skills, whether it be systems training, if they're implementing those things, the practice is growing. That roof, that Pantheon is exceeding. And now there's more to give to the team. Now there's more to pour back in the practice. And now you have growth. Now growth can be defined by that doctor, that practice owner, that vision, that clarity of expectation that we talk about. That was one of the Monday videos. Clarity of expectation creates excellent execution. So if you want them to execute a certain way, you as well as an owner have to be growing. You are a team member. You are one of those pillars. So doctors have to have a focus on growth as well. And oftentimes it's really clinical focus because they need that confidence in their clinical skills. Totally get that. There's also the business entrepreneur side, and then there's the customer service side. There's the leadership side, the manager. All of that plays a role in it. So growth will be defined by that practice. We had our mastermind meeting last night. Everybody has a different set of goals, a different direction, but there was a constant theme, right? I want to move in a positive direction. Nobody ever wakes up and goes, you know what? I really want to stink this year. I really hope I make less money. I really don't want to do my job well. And I think even some growth could be, I want to be passionate about what I do. I want to love what I do. I want to wake up and go, yes, I get to go to work. Not, oh man, I have to go to work. Does that make sense?
Well, often I think people will focus on what they don't want. I don't want to lose. I don't want to go down. I don't want this. And, that can be something to be mindful of. And like you say, if you're not growing, you are declining. There's just a law of atrophy and entropy in the universe that things will go back. The same thing why we're big on always training your team. We have top online training program for practice management, phone skills, broken appointments, and why coaching is so important. And then, and I did a whole podcast series about the 5 steps to an all-star practice. And for many years, I was, and you were with me since the beginning. And even though I come from Tony Robbins, I was kind of like a bit skeptical about events. Like why, because it could be expensive to come to events. And what do you get out of it? And I changed my tune. When I saw our members have been asking for it. And so we've been doing them over the last 3 to 5 years, events. And they've been miraculous because part of it is that we're building on the philosophy and there's an intention. That's what we're talking about today, practice growth. There's an intention. Why are we coming here? I think events are often like a whole lot of hoopla and just a moneymaker, and sales job. Okay. This is not about that. This is around the principle of
That's right.
How do we grow as people? And Go back to your podcast about significance, about purpose. I know you, and we talk about it. You're like, I'm not doing it just for the money. Money's fine, but this is what you live for, is to pour into people, to help people. You see the impact, much like dentists, where you start to see those patients and you change their lives, not just their mouth, their lives. It becomes addicting. You want to keep being there to help people. And so that's our addiction, is how do we help practices transform? How do we have them, there's sparkle in their eye, whether they see? How do we take team members that are just tacticians and become implementers and integrators and make a big difference? Our VP of Business Development, who you brought to me as a top coach, I didn't know, not only did she run a great practice, but her doctor poured into her for decades. And so she had the talent, but now she had the skill. She made him a lot of money before she left many years later. And now she runs our business, and she's phenomenal. And she's so grateful, because she would never be there if it wasn't for the investment. And then the doctor might say, well, I probably shouldn't have invested, because that meant that she left 20 years later. But for those 20 years plus that you had her operating at a level that's insane, a level that can run All-Star Dental Academy very well, okay, taking us to a whole new level, that doctor had it. And many doctors they almost feel like, I'm hiring people and I kind of got lucky. I got a great office manager. And they kind of sometimes do get lucky. They find a great person and maybe they pour into them. But there are talented people, and we have a whole hiring service that helps you find those. But once you get the talent, especially in this job culture, I know a lot of dentists, we were talking about this in the mastermind, like, I hope we don't leave our team. We have so many good team members. We got to keep them. And how you keep them is you got to pay them well. That's just the price of admission. But on top of that, if you give them significance, if you pour into them, if they know that I'm going to be working with you and I'm going to get better as a person and human being and help other human beings, clients, what you just created is an unstoppable machine. And the money that you invest in coaching, the money you invest in events, it self-funds. It pays big. And not just the money, besides self-funding, it's more enjoyable life. Isn't that nice? Right?
Yeah. So many good things you just cued in on. I mean, you have a team member that you're talking about who's grateful for the position they're in, and you have a business owner who's grateful for having that team member. That isn't an accident. And I don't know if you probably read the book Richest Man in Babylon. You ever read that book before?
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of these and thous and shouts and shall nots and all that. But one of the sections you talk about is lucky. Oh, they're just lucky. Or is it, do they have a positive mental attitude about things coming our way and determined to always see those happen? And so do you make your own luck? Right? So that's I think where the magic is you create an environment, a culture. Your team is a mirror of you as the leader, right? I talked about, I think last night, you can't be a doctor who isn't about growth and expect your team to grow.
True. Yeah.
They're mirroring you. They're watching you. They're like kids watching their parents and picking up bad habits if you have them.
And both, you made a really good point, because both have to be congruent. I mean, we know that dentists invest in CE. They love CE, clinical CE. But then when it comes to personal development, practice management CE, business CE, which is what we're talking about, some may invest only in themselves. Some may invest only in their team. But the key is you have to do both. Yeah. Both have to be there. Give me your example of leadership. What is leadership? Remember the positioning?
Yep. So two things I'll talk about that in the position, but leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. That's John Maxwell. Okay. The second part of that is if you just Google leadership and click images, you're going to get an image. It's a twofold image. It's two screens, and it's got this, leader sitting up on a almost like a throne, and it says boss underneath his feet there, and he's way up high. And then his team has got this, sled. They're pulling he or she, the boss, forward, and he's just pointing like mush, basically. Then it says, no, leadership is this. And it shows the boss is now off the throne at the front of the line and showing them how to do it. Well, yes, that's part of the process. But our third image is now that boss is pulled to the back of the line, and now the boss is cheering on the team in the mush section. He or she is in the trenches with them, but they are showing him how to do it now. And he's encouraging them and he's giving feedback and he's saying, hey, move to your left up there. Hey, move to your right. Hey, let's pick up the pace. I love what you guys are doing. That to me is leadership, someone who can do it. So if you're a dentist and you're saying, I don't like the way my team answers the phone. Okay, you better know how to answer the phone then as well. It's your business. Don't tell me a lawyer, an attorney doesn't know how to do every single thing in her business. Don't tell me a real estate agent or broker doesn't know how to do every single thing in their business. So
True.
You have to know how to do all of those things. And I came from a dentist, my father-in-law, who knew how to do everything, who trained me. So you respect that when you're a team member and you go, oh, and then you go, all right, can I even do better than that? And
Right.
that's where the boss can pull back.
And you wouldn't be where you are today if your father-in-law didn't pour into you, didn't expose you. And it's like, as Cody says, one of our mastermind, rising tide lifts all boats. As you rise the tide for everybody, everybody's lifted. So the Practice Growth Summit, let's talk about the Practice Growth Summit. Okay. Let's also talk a little bit about the intensives. So starting from the big perspective, what is this Practice Growth Summit? We do it every year. What's the point of it? Why should we come? Why should dentists come? Team members, tell me.
Yeah, I think that it's a powerful event and we have to be careful. It's not motivational, it's inspirational. There's a slight difference there. Motivation isn't going to last. It's inspiring you to be something new. And that definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, versus the growth formula. I'm going to learn something new about who I want to be. Therefore, I take new actions to improve my results. And so this is about results. Every time you go to continuing education, every time you go to the Practice Growth Summit, it's about improving your results. Those pillars are improving. As long as you take the information you got, the knowledge is power thing is partial, take the information and put it in action. So 2 days, Friday and Saturday, that is a inspirational sequence of speakers to get you to take new action to create better results for you in your life.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Every year, and every year we are changing the speakers, changing the topics. It's like simple. What is the newest thing in business and personal development that you need to know that you can take that and empower that through the year? Because you already have the online training at All Star if you're doing the program. So we have members and non-members that come. Or if you're doing coaching with us or somebody else or you're coaching your team, it's building on these modalities. And so we don't record it, only live. Now let's talk a little bit tell me a little bit about the topics that are going to be here. We can talk together about some of the speakers. So what are some topics that may be of interest to the dentists and the team members?
Yeah, so many. So I'm going to do, I start with me.
Sure.
I'm going to do 10 traits of a great team. We love that acronym. So 10 traits of a great team. It comes from, a lot of it comes from one of our podcast interviews that we did on for Alistair McCaw, his book on champion mindset.
Nice.
A lot of it comes from John Maxwell. A lot of it comes from my experience with working with teams. But what are 10 characteristics that you need to be a powerful, great team? And then I'll also throw in what are the signs and symptoms of the bad side of things as well. So we'll talk about those. We have Dr. David Peer. We'll talk about just a magnificent culture. We'll have Larry Gazzardo talking about team and influencing growth with team. We'll have this guy, Alex Nottingham, will be there presenting.
Yeah. And I always change it last minute, but where we're working on is we're rocket fuel, based on the book by Gino Wickman, this idea of becoming a visionary in your practice. And we'll have my integrator there talking about how to be a better implementer, because we have to establish the vision. Okay. But the harder part is sticking with the vision. And then how do we get our team to go from tacticians, they just do a job well, to they can implement things, to the ultimate of ultimates, which is the integrator, which is I give you my vision and you make it happen. And dentists light up and go, oh my goodness, that's real. Yes. Yeah. And we don't have to be haphazard in finding and cultivating them. We'll talk about integrator in a moment more, but in the intensives, but we can be intentional about finding, in many cases, building from within the talent to become an integrator or implementer capacity, where you have this vision of your business and people are helping to get it done. And I'm not just saying this in theory, it has revolutionized our business and we benefit greatly with that model. So that's going to be myself and our VP of Business Development, Shelley Van Epps.
So good.
So tell us some more. Who else is speaking roundtables?
Yeah. So Dr. Etchison, tell us about Dr. Etchison.
Yeah. Dr. Etchison, he is a leader of one of the top dental podcasts, just like ours in dentistry, Dental Heroes podcast. He's going to be there talking about leadership and culture. He still runs he sold his practice, but he still works in there. He did very, very profitable. He's an author. He's a podcaster. He's a consultant speaker. So we're so happy to have him there to talk about it. He's jazzed about leadership, personal development with respect to that, and getting the team excited to be part of the culture. That's so he'll be there. Yeah. We also have Dr. Todd Snyder.
Dr. Snyder as well.
He has another top podcaster in dentistry, and he's a race car driver. So he's going to talk about peak performance teams. He's also a consultant, speaker, and lecturer, very well known all around the U.S. So he'll be speaking there as well.
Yeah. We have Rachel Wall.
Oh, Rachel Wall, Inspired Hygiene.
Inspired
wow.
Hygiene.
I mean, this is a star-studded cast. And she'll be talking, I'm interviewing her later for the podcast, but she's going to be talking about how to profitable hygiene and that whole process there. So we're going to have Inspired Hygiene, not just listen. See, this other thing, not just listening to these speakers. You can talk to them there. I mean, it's going to be about 150, which is a medium size. We don't want to make them too big. So you'll be able to talk with the speakers, have lunch with them. These are some of the top in dentistry. We also have Dr. Lauren Levine, the digital dentist, and he'll be talking about technology and being more productive with technology. So we have influence there. Gosh, so many great speakers.
Patrick with Omni.
Oh, Patrick Shavasthi, the director over there at Omni Marketing. I just interviewed him. He'll be on the podcast about discovering your why. And it was pretty cool about how marketing marketing becomes your people. If you are trained, your people are trained, they become little marketing machines for you.
Yeah.
And everything you do. The event is a marketing process because all that's infectious that comes back. So it really expands. So yes, we're going to have him there. We're going to have Seth, the president of the Dental Purchasing Group, DPG, which is aligned with All-Star, one of our strategic partnerships. They're going to be there. And one of the themes that we talk about is what we're doing, and the sponsors as well as the speakers. We're all aligned in helping dentistry compete with corporate dentistry. We're not against DSOs. We do a lot of speaking. You do on behalf of All-Star for DSOs. There's a lot of them that are doing it well. There are some that are not doing well, but we just like that there's parity, that the little guy can compete. And to compete, you have to have economies of scale. So that's where DPG comes in. If you're a member of All-Star, you get DPG included. So you get vast discounts on supplies. Plus, you also, with All-Star Dental Academy, both our membership, our coaching, and the events, you're getting the expert support that these bigger conglomerates have at DSOs and corporate dentistry. So now you're able to compete. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's just a taste. I mean, of course, we're going to have Robin. Yeah.
Robin Reese,
Director of Hiring Service.
Ben Erickson. Alan Twig
Ben Erickson,
there.
Tim Twig, the top HR, the top HR firm in the country, the top hiring service in the country, with Robin speaking. Gosh.
We also have Dr. Ted Morgan. We're going to have a panel. Yeah, we're going to have a panel. So you talked about, hygiene, doctors, admin, assisting, all of that. We're going to have a 2-hour section where doctors are just talking about practice transitions while we have 3 breakout rooms going on with Rachel Wall and our hygiene coach Lynn doing and Shelley doing a hygiene breakout intensive. We're going to have Jen, our master coach on treatment coordinating, for assistance on how to get case acceptance with your doctors as a treatment coordinator position. We're going to have admin with Larry, with Heather, with Robin, with Cheyenne, all of our master team members working with admin on whether it's phones and systems, but how do you grow the practice as an administrative team member? So we're going to have a 2-hour breakout within the Growth Summit by department for those team members. So it's meant to be purposeful for every single person on the team.
That's great. And I think that's about like 80% of it. There's always more that we're adding to it. So anybody we left out here, we apologize with respect to that. But there's a lot, and all the topics are online that we post at allstardentalevents.com. Okay, so that's the Practice Growth Summit, and we also have it on the evening of Friday evening. We have, I believe, right? That's we're going to have an event where we all go to a networking event, which is fun. So there's a lot of great stuff for the event, the information, the people, the networking, the masterminding. It's just an amazing event. And we look to do it every year, but different speakers. So we're always growing. But this is so far our biggest, our most the speakers we have. Wow, just an all-star lineup. We were so happy to bring and grateful for them to be participating. Okay, so those are some of the topics. Now, one of the things that we did last year that was very successful is we added these intensives. So while you're there, you might as well work on something else and do a deep dive, smaller room, more personalized coaching. Last year, you did speaker training. It was a huge success. We do it every other year. So next year, we plan to do speaker training. This year, the day before the event, which is the 16th.
So Thursday.
So Thursday, we have 2.5 events going on in a sense, right? So 3, because there's a subset. So one is going to be our phone skills boot camp.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody loves Heather Nottingham. Everybody loves her training. Everybody loves. So why not get her, Larry, and Robin Reese in a room, get the best of the best, teaching your team how to handle all the tough situations you get on the phone, whether it be incoming phone calls or how to do outgoing phone calls, from new patient phone calls to insurance freedom type situations. How do you handle that question, to stopping cancellations, to how do you make an outgoing phone call to fill the hygiene schedule or unscheduled treatment? All of that's going to be there. How do you utilize your phone to grow your practice?
Yeah, and it's not just new patients, existing patients. They're going to talk about how to craft amazing email responses. And here's the cool thing I say, because it's a smaller group, it's going to max out at 20, 25 max. And you can send instructions saying, I'm really struggling with this, work with this, and that will be worked into the curriculum. If you give us about a month in advance, we'll work it in and we'll make sure that we know that those are part of the process. So it's an amazing group coaching with the best. Obviously, Heather, who created the program, amazing consultants there as well to support everybody in the Phone Skills Bootcamp. That's very popular. The other intensive is going to be the leadership intensive. Yeah. And the leadership intensive breaks down into 2 categories. So tell me about the leadership intensive with the leadership program, and who should come for this and what's going on.
So for doctors and spouses who work in the practice, they would be in one room potentially. You can decide how you want to divvy this up, but definitely for business practice owners, it'll be a leadership intensive on Thursday with myself, Dr. Ted Morgan, Dr. David Peer. For over 20 years, they have trained and taught doctors how to be leaders in their practice. And this is probably a 3 to 4 day retreat that we're putting into a 1-day intensive and saying, okay, yes, you have a team, but how do you get them to do what you want them to do? Lead a horse to water. How do you get them to drink it? This is the part of the process we're talking about. How do you create the culture of implementation of the actions you want them to take? How do you get them inspired by you as a leader? How do you influence them to create action to get you results? And then there'll be backbone of the practice stuff, like how do you understand your numbers? How do you create a vision? How do you create goals? That will be a part of it. But the core focus is taking your vision and having your team help you get it done, which then requires a team leader. So there will be this subset group going on simultaneously in a different room, for lack of a better term, but integrator training, someone who's going to help you get it done.
Implementers and integrators. Yeah, and team leads. So those are great for team leads. So Shelly, our VP of Business Development, our integrator, I say there's 3 levels. There's a tactician that does day-to-day stuff. There's the implementer that gets things done, projects, and the integrator that gets your vision established. And so you're going to work with, I call a class 3 integrator, the top of the line integrator, our integrator, and she's going to train with your team of how do I get more out of your team leads? How do I help the doctor? So you're working with Eric on visionary stuff, becoming a better leader. And then your team is looking, how do I serve the doctor's vision? what are tactics, what are ways, and we're going to learn from somebody that did it for 30 years, and that also now does it for our practice or our business, and does it very well. So those are going to be tactics of how to become a better implementer, better integrator. But just stepping back, very simple. I got to create a vision. I got to be a great leader. Eric, I want my team to implement the vision, so I'm not having to put out fires all day. I come up with the idea, it gets done. Integrator, implementer training with Shelly in the other room. So check those out. The Phone Skills Bootcamp and the leadership program over at allstardentalevents.com. So I have one more intensive to go over, two more quick questions. We're going to wrap this up. Okay. Then we have a Sunday, a really fun program on Sunday. That's very exciting. It's a great way to kind of like, we're getting really excited in the beginning. We have Wednesday that we have the Phone Skills Intensive. We have the leadership. We go to the Practice Growth Summit. Wow, all this information. We want something to kind of like, how do I relax? How do I put this all together and get a good work-life balance? And that's Life Mastery with Eric Vickery and your wife, who's a therapist, psychologist, Abby Vickery. Yeah. So tell me about that program. What's that going to be about, Life Mastery, and who should come?
Yeah, I mean, Life Mastery is literally for anyone. This isn't for dental people. This is for anyone who wants to help master their life. So a lot of the things that we teach in dentistry, what we're coaching and teaching on, the podcast, the things we're talking about, those are life skills that we're putting into dentistry. And oftentimes we forget that there's systems and tools that you can use in your personal life to help you avoid burnout, to thrive, to be passionate about what you're doing, to have healthy families, to have healthy mindset, and to have a growth mindset in your personal life as well. Is your marriage getting better? Is your parenting getting better? Is your family life healthier? All of those things. So Abby will be presenting that. She's got over 20 years experience as being a therapeutic coach or a therapist, a counselor. And so she's taking all the information, presenting that to you. Eric Vickery and Alex Nottingham will be in the room presenting bits and pieces of that with her. And it'll be a one-day intensive on Sunday. And that's literally for anybody to attend.
Yeah. And we talk about work-life balance. She's a specialist in preventing burnout.
Yeah.
And that's another program with these intensives, which is great. Let us know a month or two in advance, what are things you're struggling with in life that you're looking to build that work-life balance? And we can make sure that we cover that in the agenda, that's being addressed. So it's really a wonderful kind of sequence of events, a great thing to do every year. Come to the Practice Growth Summit and the intensives and really grow yourself and your team. So last two questions. One is going to be, who's a good fit for the event, for these intensives in general? I mean, and also like, look, we have doctors, we have team members, we have spouses, we have consultants. Are they welcome to come? Tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer is everybody, because even if you think about integrator or implementer training that Shelly's doing, that might be an assistant on your team. That might be a hygienist on your team who helps you get your vision implemented with your team. Could be an office manager, could be an admin lead. Obviously, doctors and spouses in with me and Dr. Ted and Dr. Dave for leadership training. Anybody who answers the phone, if you have assistants who answer the phone and you're a little nervous every time they answer the phone, come to the Phone Skills Bootcamp. Anybody can attend those things that works in your practice. Anybody that you want to see grow, that wants growth in your practice, they are invited. They are invited to do this. And of course, on the 2-day summits for your entire team, this is, I know we're dentistry, but this is for every single person in the dental office, the dental community that can come in. Anybody that you work with in the dental field should be invited to attend this.
And one of the concerns, I think, often, of course, there are scheduling conflicts that go on and things we have to prioritize. But of course, the elephant in the room, it can get, I think that the fees are very, very reasonable for the event, on the lower side compared to most events. But still, having to fly people to Florida, having to do that, it's an expense. So why, you've been doing this for a long time, you've seen many great teams, why should a dentist make this investment in their team, versus just pocket the money?
It's like anything else, the stock market, your home. If you're not putting money into it, you're not going to get money out of it. I think that's just the bottom line truth. And if you think hope is a positive thing, but you can't solely rely on hope. You have to take action. You have to work at something. I hope my team gets better at what they do. You're a business owner. It takes investing in your business. And in any industry you participate with, there's opportunities for continued education and growth. In our field, we have clinical and we have non-clinical. Both are so important. So if you want to grow your practice, you want to grow your team, you want to retain your team, you want to keep them on your team, you want retention, you don't want to have the revolving doors of team members, this is a great opportunity to invest in them, not only so they stay, but so that your practice grows. Those pillars have to grow first.
And I'll add too, I consider myself a frugal person. Heather would say cheap, but frugal. I'll go with frugal. And I don't want to travel if I don't have to. I'm very comfortable doing my Pilates and weightlifting and process. But what I've realized is when you are around great people live, something magical happens. There's an energy of the room. And when your team is around others, I give the example of my son, or you have your children. Around us, it's cute. But when they're around other good kids or adolescents or young adults, it rubs off on them. It gives them a perspective. So there's something, and Eric, as our master of ceremonies, our MC, he makes sure that the energy is amazing. And we have some fun raffles and games. And so it's a great experience. But that's something that will leave with them throughout the year, that energy, the learning. And so there's an intangible. And what I say, if you go back and watch my 5 steps to an all-star practice, events are planned transformation. And this is something that we do that you will benefit ongoing. And it's an intangible. It's all the things. It's kind of like, I always look at how do I set things up to always win. I like winning. I don't like losing. So you have a sequence or a recipe that if you follow this and you're not a bonehead, you're guaranteed success. You're going to get great value. You're going to more than self-fund. And not just that, this goes to the life mastery concept. You're going to enjoy your life more. Your team's going to be more pleasant. We have like Cody's team. They're like, every time they go to an event, they're like, when are we going again? They love it. And that's what you want with your team. And that's the investment you make. Last point is, we do offer payment plans, by the way. This was a great program that Eric offered in our event program. So you can reach out to us. We do have payment plans. Let us know what you want to do. Pick them all out, and we can spread that over time. Obviously, the event's coming in a few months in May. So the sooner you start at the payment plan, the more you can kind of break it out, which is very nice.
Now. Yeah, start now. And know this, we talked about several different things. You get to pick and choose which of those you want to do.
True.
You don't have to do all of them.
Correct.
But you can.
And theoretically, you can just only go to the intensives. Most people go to the Practice Growth Summit because it's a bigger stage while I'm there, and they pick the intensives because they're smaller. But definitely want to get those intensives. Everything's going pretty fast in terms of registration. We haven't even started promoting. We're already got about 15% is already sold out. So once we promote, it goes pretty quickly. And when this actually drops, this episode, I'm sure we'll be at 40-50%. So just start, what is it? The early bird gets the worm type thing. So all those cliches, the tortoise versus the hare, the tortoise always wins the race, the slow and steady. Do it right. Let's take care of you. Anything else you want to add as we wrap it up?
I don't know. Is there something like click the link below and it'll take you for more information or something?
Well, go to allstardentalevents.com, allstardentalevents.com, or allstardentalacademy.com. You can get the information either place. If you have any questions, reach out. We're happy to talk to you. We'd love to have you at the event. It's a smaller event, and the intensives are even smaller. So we love to have you join us. And until next time, of course, I tell you, subscribe, watch, all that stuff. Yeah, do all those good things, hit all the good buttons. And until next time, go out there and be an all-star.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Dental All-Stars. Visit us online at allstardentalacademy.com.